One of the biggest questions we have is the one that frustrates me and Rick, I think, the most. And that's, I saw this other zeolite. What's the difference? Guys, there is no comparison, but Rick is going to talk about that, right, Rick?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
First, a lot of people even ask me, why network marketing? And I've said this before, and exactly what Neil said. If you go to every major new dietary supplement in the last 40 years, I guarantee that the first place you saw it was network marketing. Things like Hawthorne, St. John's wort, acai juice, the glucosamine, hyaluronic acid. The first place you saw was network marketing, because a lot of times this stuff takes time to explain. In fact, someone asked me, I was on a call last week with a physician group, and she said, if your stuff's so great, why are you selling it through network marketing? Why isn't it everywhere? And I said, it just took me 45 minutes to explain the product to you, to explain this product to you. It took me 45 minutes. How are you going to do that on a store shelf? It's the lift to get people to understand why they need it and why they should take it is so high. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising and promotion. And meanwhile, I can give it to you guys. You have amazing results and you share it with your family and your friends. And that's how it gets out there. And the difference is, instead of paying hundreds of millions of dollars to McCann to do the advertising and to all the networks, we're paying all that money to you guys to share with other people. As a scientist, it's exciting to me. And this goes back to my first network marketing company in 97. I never gotten on stage and gotten to speak to the end users of the products I was working on. I did mostly drug discovery, and I was working on cancer therapies. I didn't get to talk to the cancer patients. I mostly worked in petri dishes and with mice and rats. And they didn't appreciate me the way you guys do. They really don't. The fact is, it was really exciting for me to make a product, do the research, and then get to talk to the end user about that, about the research, about the product. Just to have a person behind the product instead of a store shelf is a huge advantage. And so it's true. Products that are difficult to explain, products that take a lift when it comes to explanation, and belong in network marketing. And there's nothing wrong with that. So anybody that says, oh, it's network marketing, it must be terrible, you got to think, it's network marketing, it must be new, it must be different. And like Neil said, there's good and bad. There's a lot of bad companies out there. When Neil wanted to start Avini, I didn't want to do it. I knew how hard it is to run a network marketing company. And Neil and my wife convinced me to do it, because he said exactly what he said at the beginning of this call. What is wrong with these companies that we've been associated with? It's not the products. The products are wonderful. It's always the management and the owners. So Neil goes, if we're the managers and the owners, we have only ourselves to blame. And so between me, Neil, and Doug, we figured it out. We started this, and I have to say, it's been a wonderful ride. Meanwhile, I created my first zeolite product. Commercial product was 2004, but I'd been working on it since the mid 90s. I put hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money into it. We were just talking to my wife. I'm in my house I've been in since 2006, but I was in my old house in Coral Springs, and I had a home office. And the shelves of my home office were full of containers of zeolite that I had done different things to. And I was measuring dissolution time, how long it took to fall out of solution. And my wife was yelling at me. I'm like destroying pots in the kitchen because I'm cooking zeolite, and I'm watching dissolution time in my home office. And I'm telling her, I think this is going to be huge someday. I think this is a big deal. And if you hear her say it, her point was, I had a laboratory at the time. Why was I doing this in our house? Because this was aside from my regular stuff that I did in the lab. And so it's nothing I could leave out there in the world. But I was studying it, and I finally launched my first product. And I got to tell you, that for the people that were around back then when we first launched it, my biggest concern was that in dietary supplements, you have to have some sort of benefit, some sort of effect. The number one product we had at that company was a fiber product that lowered your cholesterol. And it's actually that foundation of science is what went into our Avini Plus fiber. It was a hard sale because you can't see cholesterol. No one comes up to you and says, hey, Doug, your cholesterol looks great today. No one says that. And so it's about making the intangible tangible. And that's why weight loss does so well, because people see you lost weight. What are you doing? And it's easy to sell those products. Beauty products, personal care products do well because they're tangible. You can see the benefits. It's harder with health products that are good for your heart. They're good for your cholesterol. They're good for your even joint support. It becomes harder if you can't make the intangible tangible. And so my fear when I launched that product was that people weren't going to feel different because I'm getting the toxin out of their body, I'm making them healthier, but they're just not going to get sick. They're going to be healthier and they're not going to notice that it's the product that's doing it. And I was wrong. Within the first week of launching the product, we started hearing these miracle stories of people like in hospice, getting out of hospice, and people, end stage patients getting out of bed and throwing frisbees with their kids. Heard these miracle stories within weeks of launching the product. So that really surprised me. And of course, we launched an amazing product with amazing technology. You think everyone would come to me and say, Rik, how do you do it? Let's get together. Let's be partners. Let's get this product to everyone. No. Dozens of companies decided that they could do it too. And they launched their own zeolite products. And they clearly didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't understand the basic science. They just knew it was zeolite. So you can put zeolite in a jar with a scoop or just throw it into some water and mix some other things in it and try to sell it to people. And they were terrible. And right away, everyone came to me and said, Rik, you've got to analyze that product. Analyze that product. You got to tell me why yours is better. And I've always said, sometimes, especially when you're the industry leader, when you're the category creator, you don't really need to look at everybody and give them attention. In fact, in some cases, simply giving them attention gives them credibility. You're talking about them. And so I'll tell you that the very first product, I've said this before, if anyone's heard me speak about this before, the very first competitive product was from a company called Denali, which is out of business now. And they were a network marketing company. And they launched a product called Denali Tox. And it was zeolite with humic and fulvic acid. And their entire pitch was, it's better than Rik's. That was their entire pitch. It's better than my stuff. And people calling me and saying, well, you got to compare, you got to look at it. And I said, you don't have to swing at every pitch. Just because they say it's better, they clearly don't understand what they're doing. They would add humic and fulvic acid. And I don't want to go too deep into what is humic and fulvic acid, except that if you know what humus is, it's dead and decaying plant material. So it's like earth. So what makes plants die and decay? It's always got bacteria and fungus in it. And if you don't properly clean humic acid sources, it always has bacteria and fungus in it. And most zeolite manufacturers that put humic and fulvic acid in their product is because they don't know how to micronize the zeolite. They don't crush it enough, and so it doesn't stay in solution. And so the humic and fulvic acids are highly charged. They surround the zeolite cage and help keep it in solution. It's a trick. It's a trick to make it look like their product is better micronized. But they had humic and fulvic acid in it. They said how great it was and why the humic and fulvic acid made the zeolite better, which is just not true. I ignored the product. I said, let's just see what happens. So within weeks of the product launching, we heard nightmare stories. First, it turned your teeth green when you took it, which I thought was a negative. I know a lot of people like white teeth. So I thought that was a bad idea. And then it actually put 5 people in the hospital within a month of launching from aflatoxicosis, which could be potentially fatal liver failure. So that product was pulled off the market. The president company was fired. And then within, I think, months, the company was out of business. And that was the first competitive product. Now, since then, there's been dozen competitive products. And I can't, all you guys constantly send me, have you heard of this product? Have you heard of that product? I've heard of all of them. Okay. But for the most part, it's a waste of my time to try to tell you why each one of those products is a bad idea. They clearly don't understand the science. And I'll tell you this, one company, which is apparently putting most of the marketing dollars out there, but their big claim is that their product is smaller than mine. Mine's micronized. Theirs is nano-sized. I love that, nano-sized. And it's really just semantics. I'm nano-sized. I'm 22 trillion nanometers tall. What is nano-sized? And then I talk about when I micronize my zeolite, it really just needs to be under 2 microns to be absorbed from the digestive tract into the bloodstream. Anything smaller than that, you just get better absorption. So we micronize it down all sub-micron, and our smallest particles are just under 400 nanometers, all the way down to about 357 nanometers, which we've measured. And that's big enough to have plenty of pores in the zeolite cage, but small enough to easily get into the bloodstream and into the lymph and do systemic detoxification. They claim that their product is 0.9 nanometers. If you saw what a zeolite cage looks like, that's about the size of one hole in the cage, one pore in the cage. So how does it hold on to anything if it's the size of one hole? Basically, how big is the donut that fits in the donut hole? What could it possibly do for you? So they clearly don't understand the technology. There's another product that their big pitch is that they're clear. They're clear. Mine's dirty because it's not clear. Well, mine's not clear because there's stuff in it. There's actually zeolite in my product. We took that other guy's product and we couldn't find anything in it. It was basically water. And then he actually says, it's not a zeolite, it's a piece of a zeolite. It's a zeolite fragment. Well, first of all, you got to understand how hard it is to actually break down a zeolite to its constituent components. Zeolites are amphoteric. They exist just as well as acid and base. They can exist up to 800 degrees Celsius for more than 5 hours. It's real. Remember, zeolites were forged in volcanic eruptions. It's really hard to break down a zeolite to its constituents. And these people say, oh no, we break up the zeolite. We have a fracking method that breaks down the zeolite. It's magic. It's a piece of a zeolite. It's not a zeolite. And so if that's true, it's not true, but if it was true, it would actually be illegal to sell that because a zeolite is generally recognized as safe. It's a natural product, natural mineral that's used in animal feed. It's used in human nutrition. But if they break it apart, now it's a different molecule. And by definition, they would actually have to apply to the FDA to have something called a new dietary ingredient, NDI. So just the fact that they're saying it's a zeolite fragment, which is different than a zeolite, it's illegal for them to sell that without actually applying to the FDA. Additionally, they say it's not negatively charged anymore. It's positively charged. You guys know the only reason the zeolite works is because it's a small cage-like structure that has a negative charge. That's what gives it all of its power to pull in and trap within itself positively charged compounds. If it's positively charged, what does it do? How can it possibly take toxins out of your body? It makes absolutely no sense. And then he also says it's soluble in water, which zeolites are not soluble in water by definition. He goes into saying all of that and then finishes by saying that zeolites have been used for 800 years in traditional medicine and how great they are. And then he puts my study on his website to support his product. So he's saying it's not a zeolite, it's not a zeolite, it's not a zeolite, but look at how great zeolites are. And here's the research. And it's my research. All right. So if you do any of this, if people tell you they're using a zeolite product, they tell you one of these products I've talked about. There's another one. I don't want to go into names, although Neil and I did talk about. Oh, I got an echo. Neil did talk about potentially at least the bigger products to actually do some comparisons and do some analysis. I've done them. Like I said, that one clear product, I put in a centrifuge for a week and nothing came out of this stuff. There was nothing in it. It was just water, like tap water. But time and time again, I can't find anything in these products, or I find other things. There's one product that they say is pure, it's clean, it doesn't have any preservatives, and it's full of organic carbon. There's total organic carbon. There's tons of carbon, which means they're putting something else in this product that's not zeolite. But my point is that I am the category creator of zeolite for detoxification. It didn't exist before me. I'm the inventor of the terms micronization activation. No one used those words before I created my processes. Anyone out there that talks about micronization activation is because they're stealing my marketing content that we created for my first product. And since then, we've sold now over 8 million bottles of my zeolite invention since we first launched it. We've done 15 clinical studies with that product. We know it works. We know it's highly effective. We know it's safe. So if anyone says, oh, I've got a zeolite, they say it's better than Rik. Well, that's pretty much all they can say when they're trying to market it. And you can tell them they're wrong in every possible way. If they can only try to sell their product by copying me badly, then they're on the wrong track. Okay. So I can talk about other products. People constantly send this stuff to me. I'm happy to say who this is and why this is, but I think I've given you a pretty good picture of we have the product. This is my invention. I invented it in the mid 90s, tested it, launched it in 2000, end of 2003, beginning 2004. We've sold over 8 million bottles since then. And the only place you can get it now is Avini Health. This is it. Okay. I've said this before. It's a product everybody needs. When anyone learns about it, everybody who learns about it wants it, and this is the only place to get it. That's it. It's what we call in the business a silver bullet. It's got everything you need for everybody. Neil, I don't know how much further you want me to go.